Hello, so this is a little bit of a weird niche video, I would say, but it's something that when I search this topic, nothing really comes up. I don't know, there was like one video that came up and it was like ignorant. This video is basically about the connection between astrology and autism. Yeah, this is kind of a hard video to explain because you kind of need to know a little about both to understand why they work and why it helped me. This is just me sharing my personal experience. I'm not saying that this will work for everybody, blah, 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 blah. I know that it just has helped me and saved me in a lot of scenarios. First off, if you don't know, I have autism. But before I figured out that I have autism, I got into astrology. So I got into astrology from my best friend Nina when I was like 19 years old. I'm 21 now, like 2 years, I don't know. But basically, astrology, and if you don't know about astrology, astrology is more than just a sun sign. It's a lot more complex. There's a lot more to comprehend, and there's a lot of facets and different ways of doing it. So what I know is like tropical or Western astrology. I don't know much about Vedic astrology. That's a whole other thing, and that deals more with past lives and that kind of thing. And tropical or Western astrology deals more with somebody's personality and how they interact with the people around them and how the sky is affecting them, and well, not the sky, but like the chart in the sky right now. Astrology is not just sun sign horoscopes. So you have a full birth chart if you don't know when you were born, and basically it's based off of the day and the year that you were born, your birthday, where you were born, and your exact birth time. And not only do you have a sun sign, which is kind of like what everybody knows, like I'm a Capricorn, I was born in January. You're more than just a sun sign, you have a moon sign, Mercury, Venus, Uranus, Mars, all that kind of stuff. And then you also have houses. It's very complicated and you always learn so much more, but I found that it really has helped me tremendously navigate the world with my autism, because a big thing that I and most people with autism have trouble with is figuring out other people and why people do the things that they do, and seeing people clearly and understanding yourself and understanding others. It's just people and socializing and that, and like even emotions and all that kind of stuff that makes up a person is not very easy for people with autism to understand about themselves or anybody else. And this is generalization, maybe somebody with autism can do this, but I would say for the most part, it's a struggle. When I found out about astrology and that you're more than just a sun sign, you have this whole birth chart, it's like, and I found out about astrology way before I had any suspicion that I had autism. But it was like this click that I was like, this is something that I've been feeling for so much of my life, that like there are these outside influences that influence how people see me and how I see other people, and why do some people come across this way at first impression but I always come across this way, and why do I feel this way in this circumstance, and why do people act this way, and like it just, I don't know, there's got to be some kind of outside force or something, some entity that makes people act the way they do, view me the way that they do, me respond to things the way that I respond to things, why some people are more prone to this and that. And it was like astrology was this answer for all these questions that I had for so long. And I will give you an example of what a birth chart looks like. So I'll give you two examples of it. So the first one is my chart, and this is off of Astro Cafe, which it kind of gives it in a grid style. And this is how I first looked at charts. But that style does not really work for me in the way that my brain works. I'm an incredibly visual learner, and not everybody is a visual learner, and not every autistic person is a visual learner. So whatever chart works for you, that's the one you should use. But this just wasn't visual enough for me. And then I found Astro Theme, and this is what my chart looks like in Astro Theme. And it's just a circle, and it's like a picture, and I can see everything. So when I have my birth chart or somebody else's birth chart, I see them, but then I can also have this picture of their chart in my mind, and everything adds up so easily. And people with autism really like patterns. Like, I am dictated by patterns, and I live my life through patterns, and I've always been obsessed with patterns, and that doesn't really make much sense. I'm not even that big of a math person. It's hard to explain, but just the way that I go about my life is I want to go about it through patterns. So astrology is the pattern of a person, basically. And I just have this natural capability of looking at somebody and seeing their birth chart as a picture in my mind. That visual picture shows up, and then they can make sense. Because before, I would see a person and I would be totally disillusioned by them. And there are things in my birth chart that point to my reasoning as to why I can't see people for who they are, why I can't see myself. And I wanted to do a whole video of like my autism through the scope of my birth chart. I've been doing a lot of research and really thinking about it. That's an incredibly niche video, but there's no such thing out there, and I just want to do it because I was looking for it. But anyways, that's not what the point of this video. The point of this video is for autistic people, because basically, I didn't even say this, I think that astrology can be used as an amazing kind of device for autistic people to navigate their life. And I've ever seen anybody touch on this. It's not going to cure autism, and it's not really good for people who are, you know, the nonverbal side, or, you know, ASD3. This is really much more for people that are under the scope of an ASD1 or an ASD2 diagnosis. So I just want to put that out there. And no, this will not work for everybody, but I think that it will help some. That's why I'm doing this, because it helped me tremendously, and my thoughts are going all over the place. But basically, so before, when I would meet somebody, before I knew anything about astrology, I would have trouble kind of understanding why they would do things the way that they would, or why they would say certain things, and people just do things that don't really make sense to me, and I would get so frustrated all the time because I was like, why are they acting like this? This doesn't make any sense. This isn't the rational response. Why are they crying? That's not rational. Like, I don't get it. Or why are they acting this way? This is silly. This is stupid. That's not how I act. So why are they acting that way? And that's not a good way to be, obviously. But it never made any sense to me why people would do the things that they would do. And I couldn't understand why everybody didn't think like me. And I know that sounds silly, but I think that's something that people with autism don't understand, is like, why doesn't everybody think as rationally as I do? Or why doesn't everybody understand these responses? Or why did this person respond to what I said this way? Like, that's not how I meant it. And astrology kind of gives an answer for why people are the way that they are. Before, when I would meet somebody, I'd be like, who are they? What are they doing? Why are they acting this way? But now, if I know somebody's birth chart and I see them, I go, okay, this is them. They're gonna probably act like this. I'm able to much better predict how they will respond in certain scenarios. I'll be able to better shape how I act towards them because I'm more aware of their chart, so I'm more aware of like little triggers or little things, or I'm not only more aware, but I'm more understanding, and that's a big thing. I've struggled a lot with understanding of people because people don't make any sense to me, and I don't make much sense to most people. That's besides the point. It helps me incredibly, and I have an amazing memory for people's birth charts because it makes sense, and it's patterns. It's all about patterns. So for example, if I know a friend and I know that they have, I don't know, like an Aries moon, and they do something impulsive, instead of me responding with like, that's irrational, why would they act that way? Oh my god, why are they being so aggressive? This is so annoying. This doesn't make any sense to me, which is how I would normally respond. I can actually instead go, oh, that was a weird response, but oh wait, they have an Aries moon, so they're a little bit impulsive sometimes, so that's just kind of how they are, and it makes sense, so I'll just let them, you know, be that way for a second, you know, as long as everything's chill, you know what I mean? It makes more sense now why people act the way that they act, and I think that is an amazing tool for somebody who's autistic. And also, it's helped me understand myself a lot more and be more understanding and calm, and I have a lot of trouble figuring out like my needs, my wants, my emotions, my everything basically. Like, I don't understand why I do anything. It doesn't make sense to me. Being able to understand astrology, I understand now, like, oh, that's why I responded this way in this scenario, because my Venus is in Sagittarius, and these are the qualities of Venus and Sagittarius. And I've also gotten really good at being able to identify people's charts or people's energies before I even know their chart. For people's rising, here are all the risings, right? Let's pretend it's these. Like, this is how it works in my head. There's 12 of them, and this is them. And I have little words for each of the qualities, right? And little feelings towards each of the energies. And then I I see the person and I can just line it up and go, and I calculate in my head which of these makes sense the most, which of these can I match up, and it's a really fun pattern game for me. Astrology really did become an intense special interest for me during, well, it has been for over a year now, but there was like a 6-month period of time where I was obsessed with learning it. And as somebody who's autistic, we enjoy, I think, having a special interest. Like, it's thought of as something weird and obsessive, and it's not really put in a good light, but I think people with autism need it. Like, it's a great outlet for us, and we love learning new things. Or I shouldn't generalize. I mean, I know I love learning new things. I love having something that sparks my interests, that I love having something where I can put my obsessive want to learn into, and astrology was one of those things, and it was one of the best things ever for me, because not only was it a great outlet for me to learn all these new things, have this whole new outlook on this world, but without knowing it actually was helping me kind of navigate myself through my world of autism without even knowing that I had autism. And it was a huge first step in kind of being able to deal with it and make it more manageable without me even knowing. And I think that it can be so helpful for other people with autism. Growing up, I was not the most spiritual person. I wasn't against it, but I also just wasn't, I don't know, like, I'm very creative and artistic and like that kind of stuff, but I was never really spiritual. Like, I always had a small interest in it, but like, everybody thinks astrology is like some kind of spiritual practice, and it definitely is for most people. I would say I'm definitely in the very small percentile that it's not a real spiritual thing for me. Like, it's kind of becoming that more as I get more into it, but it's more of just a practical life tool for me. I don't think people with autism are usually the most kind of spiritual people. That's not saying that if you're autistic you're not, because there definitely are people that are autistic and spiritual. I'm just saying generally, most, not all, people that are autistic are very grounded and very realistic people. Our thought processes, we like right and wrong, we don't like gray. You know, we like black and white, we like rules. And astrology is seen as this kind of spiritual, like, la-di-da thing, like, not rooted in anything, you know, just cosmo horoscopes. But it's so much more. It really helps me navigate my life. And I know I said that a lot, but I just cannot stress that enough, that it is, for me, it's not as much, it's becoming, but it's not as much of a spiritual thing as it is just a practical, helpful thing. It's fun. It's fun being able to connect those patterns and recognize them, and I'm like a storage bank for all these pictures of people's charts in my mind. I just think that therapists should really know about astrology. Like, people that deal with autism and special needs should know about astrology, because I strongly believe it could be such an amazing tool for people on the spectrum, helping us navigate life, and it can be a coping mechanism even, and I think it could just be so helpful and so useful that is not being used, I guess, as much as I think it should be. And again, I'm not saying that it's for everybody, because I know it's not for everybody. I'm not stupid here, but I think it is for quite a few people, more people than we realize. And if you're somebody who is on the spectrum and you've never looked into astrology, I do have an astrology YouTube channel. I'll link it down below. I'm not trying to like pimp myself out or anything, but there are so many more channels that you could check out, so much content on astrology that you could check out. There are books and blah 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 blah. You don't have to just, I'm not trying to just advertise myself. It's really like not for that reason why I'm making this video. It's really for the fact that this could be such an, not necessarily like a 100% answer for it, but just so helpful. And my camera's almost full, and I think that's all I have to say. Just go into it with a little bit of an open mind. And by the way, my shirt says not milk, not got milk, because I'm vegan, so fuck milk. Okay, anyways, bye.